Thank you very much. I'll leave you with Cristina.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, everyone. I know, you're probably a bit tired. So I was challenged to talk about hiring for growth, and honestly, I think there's only for growth and not for growth is basically the same. So this talk, it's been a while, but I gave a talk very similar to this one at the Pioneers Festival 2 years ago, and Tiago that spoke here this morning heard the talk. But since he's not here, this is new for everyone. Feel free to interrupt me. Tell me if you don't understand something. Sometimes I believe what I'm going to talk is a little bit, after going through the process, it's kind of boring. But this was what made it possible for me to never had to, after the process, and I'm going to tell you the story, never had to fire an engineer, for example. Because, Just an introduction on TalkDesk. TalkDesk was born in 2011. Me and my co-founder, we went to the US. We did 500 startups, which was the same as InfraSpeak. We raised a round of funding while we were there. And during the acceleration process, we hired a colleague that studied with us. And there were 3. And then later on, we raised the round. We hired 3 people because we had to go really fast and we had money and we're kind of like heroes. Let's hire really fast. I came back to Lisbon to set up the team, and we had to fire those 3 people because everything was wrong. And we were like, fuck, we are not going faster. These people, they are giving us excuses not to do the things. This thing of working remotely and being a startup and not having an office yet is killing us because people just stay at home doing nothing. So we better put a process in place and make sure we can hire people that are with us, on the same boat and working hard. So, because a company is not about one person, it's about a team. And I just wanted to show you these, the results of a survey that was basically analyzing 101 startup failing postmortems. So this company they analyzed, and one of the top 3 reasons is we were not the right team, which is a lot. So, there's a lot of risk understanding the market, finding product market fit, not getting the marketing strategy right, but at least please get the team right. So I'm going to talk about what is a great team. Then it's really focused on the hiring process, the toolkit, the process, the onboarding process, because that's another very important part, scaling and firing, which no one likes to talk about, but it's really important as well. So great teams, A players, of course we want smart people, passionate people, people that wear the tech swag, but really sweat with us at the same time. One very important aspect is curiosity. This is kind of obvious, but if during an interview, I always had a set of questions to try to understand if the person I was talking to was a curious person. For example, if it's an engineer, you ask that person, okay, what technologies have you been learning? If it's a marketing person, you ask that person, what's the new software that's around that you have explored? So always try to understand if that person is learning things on the side, because what the person learned at university. Good communicators. This is kind of really important because we all work in Slack. We send emails all the time. So if someone, even if that person is a genius, if that person cannot communicate well, that's going to be a disaster. And then team players. And I have a very interesting quote from Jeff Bezos that says, every time we hire someone, he or she should raise the bar for the next hire so that the overall pool of talent is always improving. Did you ever see the first job posting that Amazon launched? Okay, so first time that Jeff Bezos put a job posting out, I think he gave the best explanation of what an A player is. And it's okay, if you can see, the bold part says, you must have experience, you must have experience designing and building large and complex, yet maintainable systems, and you should be able to do so in about 1/3 of the time that most competent people think possible. I think this is the best description of what an A player is. Like, you do things right, and you do things faster than anyone else. For the ones that don't know, Amazon was first called Cadabra, so the first company that was registered was Cadabra Inc. And this was the first time Jeff Bezos was trying to hire developers. Oops. Okay, so hiring toolkit. Very simple. This is just a recipe, so you don't forget. Get a recruiting software. Spreadsheets are great, but I don't think they enforce a process. Get some workable recruiter box. Trello and Asana can mimic the process, but honestly, this is cheap. You can do free trials, whatever. Use LinkedIn to stalk people, to find references, to ask all your employees, friends. If you are looking for someone, I mean, you bug people all the time. I need a designer, I need a developer, I need someone to do marketing, content, whatever. And then another thing I would do was every week I would define, I used the Google calendar appointments, I don't know what's the name. I would say, okay, Tuesday and Thursday I'm going to be interviewing in these slots, and then I would just send those slots to people so I don't have to lose time coordinating, because that makes you like lose your patience and a lot of energy just coordinating things. So put a process in place. And then, like very video application is kind of obvious, but I decided at some point to, the first interview, the first conversation would be a 30-minute call. I don't have to move, the candidate doesn't have to move. There's always some cases where after 5 minutes you're like, oh my goodness, 25 minutes left, I don't want to be here more time. But that avoids everyone to lose time. If the person is really interesting, okay, you've done the process. If not, it's 30 minutes, very easy to coordinate. You can do it 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Easy for everyone. Then, I feel like a priest, you know, telling you like the obvious things, but it's never too much. Templates, just find some templates that you like, do a little bit of research, get to for companies you admire, put a template in place. Email templates as well, the same you do for marketing, I would do for hiring. And then I got Yesware at the time, which was this widget that you put on top of email, and you configure the templates, and then you just send templates to candidates. Okay, I saw your profile, I really like it, blah, blah, blah. Can we have a call? Oh, someone referenced you, would love to know you better. Can we chat for 30 minutes? Get all these templates right, because then you don't need to think, oh, I want to interview this person, or I want to reach out, but I don't know what's the message, I need to write the email. And then it becomes a frictionless process if you have the emails defined. Same as, okay, I really liked our conversation, I'm going to send you the challenge, which I'm going to talk about later. But if you have emails templates, it becomes like automatic. Interview templates is kind of similar, but my main questions were around curiosity, trying to understand what the person would do outside of work, books. One of my favorites was, oh, like, what's the, how do you keep up with the evolution in your field? And like, people say, well, I read on Twitter, I read on Facebook. So you say, okay, so what are the publications you like? Or who do you follow on Twitter that I should be following as well? And some people, because this is kind of a generic answer, they will say, some people, because they don't read anything, and they just see cat memes and football, but some others will give you really interesting things. And these very basic questions really help you filter Who is a serious person? No, it's just like talking. So, a process, which is what I'm going to describe. And before that, this is what happens to most of the companies that raise some funding. And this is why the process is really important. Because otherwise, you're going to hire because you have money, you need to go fast, like you're this genius, and you make mistakes, which was what happened to us. And then we fix them with a process that doesn't replace the beer test. The beer test is important and very common. The images are a little bit dark. Very common in the startup environment. Wow, see, I like this person, but that doesn't test the technical abilities, which at the end of the day is what you want the person to do, to solve some problems so you don't have to solve them yourself. Damn, I thought the process was happening, but I'm not very familiar with the slides, although I did them. So just a curious statistic, Google hires from the less than 1% top performers, meaning for each hire, they receive 130 applications. And sometimes when we are hiring, we interview one person and we think, we are okay. I like the person, peer test is done, I should be okay. My suggestion, and this is like the low number, is 5. Make sure you interview at least 5 people. Especially if you are interviewing someone in an area that you don't know. So my background is computer science. The first time I was hiring for marketing, it was kind of all new to me. Some people, one, if they don't teach you anything, that's a really bad sign. If you are from engineering, you are interviewing someone from a different field. If that person doesn't teach you anything, like, okay, I don't need you here. But if the person teaches you something, you never know if that's good enough or not. So the only way is to get as much exposure as you can to that field. And you do that through, of course, reading and all that, but by interviewing at least 5 people, you get a sense of, okay, this is how these marketing guys think. So save this number, at least 5 people when you're interviewing for a position, especially if you don't know, if it's not within your domain expertise. Okay, here's my process. Sourcing, blah, 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 CV screening, okay. The most important part, or the part that not a lot of companies do, is the technical challenge. And I'm gonna be a little bit more detailed, because this was what made us hire with like very good quality, and then it becomes your brand. I guess we didn't talk about that, but if you are a company where people like to work, more people will come. And then you become this special company, it really helps. Okay, sourcing, boring part. Now it's like just, what we want to do, we want to find the most promising candidates for the job. How do we do this? Referrals a lot, as I mentioned. Then, of course, you'll have to do events, so people know you. You'll have to search a lot of people on LinkedIn and pay them tons of money to have the recruiter profile. Job boards help as well, because if you want to find a diverse team, different people look for jobs in different places. Some search on LinkedIn, some go on job boards, some only apply to a job if it was referred by a friend. So you need to get better and better at like marketing yourself through the different channels. And yeah, of course, the diversity will hopefully come. At the beginning, it will most likely be friends of friends of friends, so it will be like very similar people. But yeah, that's it. Source. CV screening, easy. Filter potential candidates, looking for excellence. What like my key points here were, if your CV has a mistake, like that's a really bad sign. Because I mean, come on, you don't want someone working for you that does mistakes in one thing that's 2 pages, right? Especially if that person is in control and could have sent that to a friend. Extremes are not good, meaning if I was 10 years at a company, like maybe I'm a little bit comfortable. And if I was 6 months at a company, and that's like people that change jobs every 6 months, also a little bit of a red flag. Excellence can be found in, I worked at a top company, and we all know if someone works for Google, then okay, let me pay attention. If people go to like side competitions or have scholarships for merit, all that is interesting. And then something that not a lot of people do is get on the phone, call friends, people you know, or people that know the person you are going to interview, and ask them. That's at the beginning for the 3 people that we had to fire. 2 of them, we should have done this, but we didn't. That would have saved us time and money. So we learned it the hard way. First interview, 30 minutes, Skype call, easy to coordinate. We want to understand if this can be a win-win situation for both parts. Ask the smart questions. I couldn't find them. I was on the train, I was looking, but like the internet was really bad and I couldn't find because I have like 4 questions I would ask. And then another one is kind of like a low profile question. What would make you join, or what would make you leave the company where you're working right now? And the person's going to tell, well, like I would jump, like I'm tired of my manager, I'm going to go tomorrow if you make me an offer, or I want to receive more, or whatever. Ask that so you can understand if there's a fit or not. I have people telling me first interview, I work like it's like 4K a month, that's my salary. You say, okay, I really like you, but I'm not going to pay you this. And then you tell that person, is this negotiable or not? If not, then you say, okay, nice to talk to you anyways. And my main point would always be, did this person teach me something? Because if you have someone that teaches you stuff, that person becomes valuable for the team. Very, very simple. At the end of an interview, I would ask myself, is this person interesting? Did this person teach me something? If yes, then move to the next phase. The next phase would be this technical challenge. Basically, like, other than talking, show me that you can do something. We did this so the second developer we hired was the first one to try this. And he was a friend. We studied with him. He was the best student. He was 2 years older than me, best student of his class. So I knew the guy was a genius. But I said, look, we need to test this process. We are going to ask you to solve this challenge. We are giving you a problem that we had before and that we had to solve. And we would like you to present a solution for this problem. Later in the process, we would invite the people to go to the office and do that from the office. Because then you can see if the person interacts, asks questions when the person has doubts. And this became mandatory for people like, for example, support. Because we had a girl whose husband did a challenge. And it was a very good challenge. I had no idea that it was not her. She sends the challenge is very good, everything is awesome, we hired her, she arrives, she sits at the computer, and she almost doesn't know how to work with the computer. And it was very, very disappointing. So we decided our rule right now is that people come to the office, you spend for support, for example, engineering, it was usually a full day, and people would take a day off to go. If you can't, not a problem, you do it at home, and then you come to the office later. But if so, you can do the technical challenge and the cultural fit assessment in the same day. Very interesting, and also the people can understand what's your work environment like, which is very good. So win-win for both. People go, it's all nice people. And then if you don't screw up hiring, you guarantee that you have a nice group of people. So new candidates come and they're like, I want to work here. And it becomes a very positive effect. So, okay, so the technical challenge I would do, especially at the beginning, I would do the first interview, then the technical challenge we would give the people. I think that's still online, I can try to find. If you search for Talk Desk Technical Challenge, there's a GitHub page with a description of the problems you can solve and all that. The person codes, does a code review or sends like a PDF, depends if it's content or marketing or design. Designing was the same, like you go to the office, here is like a small set of data that we would like to transform into an infographic. Like, use your magic. Some people are like, oh, but I didn't bring the computer. Okay, here is everything. And then the most important part is to criticize the work of the person. Not by being an asshole, but by challenging the work with either different forms of doing things or alternative ways. Okay, I did this another way, like why did you do this way? Because for you to have team players, people need to be open to a discussion, even if it's about your work like that can be improved. If someone is not open to that, it's going to be very difficult with that person. And we excluded people that were geniuses technically, but couldn't have like a constructive discussion around their work. Tough, but don't compromise. Then the cultural fit is a bigger test. We did this, so if the person goes to the office, then there's a group of typically 4 people, including the candidate that go out for lunch, so they can have a close, informal conversation. I mean, if you have a big group, the candidate cannot sit and speak with everyone, but if you have a small group, include always a team lead or the CDO, and they go for lunch, talk, pick stuff, or design stuff, or support stuff. If not, if the person does the challenge at home, invite the person to come have lunch with you, or beers at the end of the day. Discuss the challenge a little bit, also understand if it was the person that did it or not, which was a mistake at some point we did, and see if everyone likes the person. Then eventually you decide, and when you have questions, well, there's no questions, just say no. Even if, honestly, we had people that we said no to, and then later on, because that person has more experience, or I don't know, that person comes again to the pipeline, we speak with the person again. But if you have questions, it's better to say no, unless you didn't speak with 5 candidates. So in that case, hold on, go find more people, and then make a decision. Offer, easy, present the person with the job offer. It's easy, but it's not always, not everyone does it right, especially if you are in a startup environment. Make sure you send the person a written offer, because that can bite you later. It's good to speak with a lawyer, even at an early stage, because later, I mean, shit will hit the fan, and it's going to be like people will ask for the papers, where's the papers? In the beginning, I didn't do everything right, because I have more stuff to do, so like, why do we need to sign papers? I'm a serious person. And then I had to fix all that, and it was a pain. Everything went right, but knowing what I know today, I would have made that, like, just call the lawyer, and the lawyer will get you the papers. But sometimes you don't know. You don't know, is the lawyer, you don't know. So we say, well, just put these people on Social Security. So I think for the first more than 10 hires, everyone had like a contract forever, because that's when you have no contract. When you have no written contract, that's what it means. Everyone is an employee forever. So don't do that. Oh, and another thing we had at the beginning was fair environment, salary was like same people with same expertise, same number of years of experience, everyone had the same salary. I remember this guy, like, he thought, like, no, it needs to be more X, Y, Z, blah, blah. He made me increase the salaries for everyone. But that was perceived internally by people as, okay, like, this is a fair environment, and we are being compensated equally. Of course, when you have now the company is more than 300 people, this is not possible anymore, but at the same time, not everyone gives the same. So there's different people, different profiles, but in the beginning, where you need to have these people working like crazy, it's better to make it fair. No questions?
Yes, several. So first thing is that it all sounds familiar, and we never met each other, so good to know for me. But a couple of questions in regards to some things you said. Finding curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I find it to be one of the most tricky things to find in someone, because it's very hard to fake that you are a curious person, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Twitter, Facebook example, like I'm a curious guy, but if you ask me that question, I wouldn't probably be able to answer more than like 1 or 2 Twitter profiles or something.
But that's enough, I think.
Yes, but I can say, hey, TechCrunch, next web, and it's bullshit.
True.
You know, so that is my first question. How are you able to access this more deeply, and like avoiding the someone that it's just bullshit?
Yeah, of course it's tricky, but if at least you can filter the really bad ones, and then in the process, like if you do a technical challenge and you do everything like by the book, you know, if I cannot get anything from you that's like other than the by the book recipe, you know, maybe there's something. If I go out, have a beer with you, and the conversation is boring, then maybe you're not that curious.
Yeah,
so I think it's a combination of things, but it's tricky. I agree, it's tricky.
Okay, a combination. Yeah.
It needs to be a combination, but in that first call, I mean, like, there's very interesting people. So one of the guys we hired was a pilot. Like, and you are interviewing the guy, like, what do you do? I'm a pilot. Like, actually, the guy left and is now at Eglazu, like, doing flights. So it's so we have people like having 2 degrees. We have people that they do like VR stuff. You know, I mean, if the person cannot come up with something that makes that person different, you need to like continue in the process.
But it's very challenging, because then there is other things that come into play, like if you are shy. You must just be shy.
Of course.
So I'm just, this is not criticism.
No, I agree.
Sharing frustrations. One other thing that I found very interesting, what you said about hiring for an unknown position, which is
what we all do.
Scary. And I was wondering if you ever did like a round table to actually like have people together.
You mean a round table during the interview process?
Like actually calling 5 candidates at the same time.
No, we never did that. But we, for example, when we hired, of course, you build a team. We had a lot of. I talk a lot about engineering because we were more engineers than every other function. I think we were maybe 15 engineers, and we had to find a manager. So when you tell the cool guys that are going to bring in a manager, you'll freak out. I'm going to be the manager. So for you need to make them part of this process. Otherwise, they are not going to respect the manager. They're going to fight. So we brought the candidates, and we did like a round table with the team leads, with the tech leads, and the candidates. So it was the other way around.
Okay.
And actually, we convinced. So that guy, we relocated him from the Microsoft in Seattle, And he said, I really like to meet the team like that. It convinced me to come and join because I met the people I was going to work with. So the other way around works fine.
But why not? Just because not?
Never happened. Like never even thought about it.
Why? Okay.
Never read about like such a thing. So like things need to show up in front of you for you to test them.
That's
so
right.
that never happened.
Okay. Just one or two more things, maybe for someone, I don't know. You said, just a comment, 6 months at the company. You said like it's a red flag.
Oh yes.
These days, you know how it is, right?
I mean, if you
6 months, I know it's a bit exaggerated.
if you spend 6 months in each company, come on, I don't want to hire you. Because in 6 months, I'm going to teach you everything in 6 months and then you're going to leave. This is the reason why companies in Silicon Valley, they don't hire developers anymore. Because you spent like 6 months training the developer and then the developer leaves. So it's just like burning cash.
That's right, but just saying that these days, sometimes within the pool of 5 candidates that you have, they are all similar profile. Mainly when you are speaking about software engineers, like people switch jobs, they switch their shirts.
But those are not the ones I want.
That's right. And just I guess to finish, when the founders got like really involved into knowing the person, the beer test earlier, in case you were a founder.
Yes.
But
so it depends. Either you do the last interview. So for example, in the beginning, I would do the 30-minute screening. So I had a feeling of the candidate, and then I would pay attention to the process, not being involved. Maybe I would join the lunch, but then it would be to like the tech people to decide. Later on, the HR team, they took the process. Basically, they would do the interview, they would like send the technical challenge, they would coordinate with developers to review the technical challenge, and then I would do the final interview.
that's more my question.
Yeah, exactly. But in the beginning, when you have no HR,
In the final interview, you will repeat everything that the candidate told you earlier.
I mean, if they did a good job, only it's kind of meeting the person plus like checking.
And what happens if you don't really?
Like then you do reference calls, you call, like try to understand if this is good or not, and sometimes you say, I don't like this person. You decide. Or sometimes that person does a no-K challenge, and you are not sure, and you are kind of
Think of that.
also like trying to understand. But I don't remember having candidates where like they come to you and then it's really a bad person that you don't like. I don't think that's very common. If you have the process right,
The filter.
it works. It's kind of a machine.
Yeah.
More questions?
So, how do you avoid to wait for the perfect candidates? So, instead of having 5 profiles to choose, you are still looking at an early stage. You are still looking for the perfect guy or for the perfect girl to fit on what you think is the best profile.
So
You write it and okay, let's.
Honestly, I don't think there's. I never thought, okay, this is not the perfect one. It's kind of like, does this meet the criteria? Yes or no? So, I mean, if it's good, then it's good, right? Why is it not perfect? It's like girlfriends, right?
Sometimes they are hard to choose. Okay, so but
You need to know what you're looking for, and like when it ticks all the boxes, then you should have your answer.
when you can find someone to tick all the boxes, you simply start to scratch the boxes. And
No, you search
forget.
harder. You go
Okay.
and you need to keep searching.
Okay.
No, that keep searching. Don't compromise.
Yeah, that's what was where I'm heading to.
So
Choose to compromise or
no,
still looking for
no,
the.
still looking. In the beginning, we didn't hire fast enough because we didn't know. So we had our network, referrals. Later in the process, we started working with recruiters and paying them because we had to feed the pipeline. Then it's your process. But to get more people into the pipeline, you need help on that sometimes, and that's fine. So go and ask for help, but don't compromise on that choice.
Yeah, thank you.
Same with the girlfriends.
I'm okay with that.
More questions? Okay, I'm gonna continue and then we can move to questions again. So the onboarding process, for me, it's even more important than the interviewing process. Because you convince someone that, okay, we have an amazing company, we're gonna do this, that, and that, we move really fast, so we need people that work hard. And then if the person arrives and nothing moves and everything is slow, you are setting the tone during the onboarding. So you need to make sure you pass all that energy and the pace of the company to whoever is joining. We had a very interesting onboarding process. So we did some preparation. Then day one is special day because now it's not like that, but until you are 70, 80 people, everything is possible. So day one, I'm going to tell you that people had to either put code in production, write a blog post, do something that has visibility. And they would freak out because we work hard here, it's go, go, go. So if they join and you tell them this is serious, they will believe it from day one. If not, it's like telling your kids you can have candy all day, and then you say no, now you have no candy. They'll say, I could have candy. So as a preparation, we created spaces where people could look for information. We had a wiki that had how we work, description, okay, we like this, we like that. You can work from home, you cannot work from home. This is what we like. We ask questions to each other. This is the main channels we use. These are the software tools we use. Sometimes for us, we use 10 tools. We think that's the normal, the minimum. And people come and they cannot compute. Slack, Asana, Trello, fuck, GitHub, what do I do now? Same thing to how do I set up my computer? People do that over and over, so if you write that down, you don't need to explain to people when they join. You say, okay, we wrote that already, take it, it's here, just fold it up. So we were disciplined enough to put this into writing, so then every time someone joins, we didn't have to repeat all over again. Also very important, if you are preparing to grow really fast, because then things will go out of control, and you don't have enough people to teach the new ones. Favorite day, day one. Day one, someone joins, you need to set the tone, and you need to tell the person to produce something. In the morning, it's okay, paperwork, signing stuff, computer setup, access, control, all that. Then we would do a team lunch, so everyone would go out and have a team lunch, kind of like a welcome lunch for whoever was new on the team. And then we created this issue of the day, which was a task, be a small task. That person had to complete and have ready to ship into production. It could be a blog post, adding a small feature, fixing something on the website, changing an ad. You need to complete something. I remember people in the office, 8 p.m. first day, fuck, I'm gonna fill at this job. I'm desperate. What do I do? What a terrible idea. But then you understand this is important. And then, okay, important part is that person has a team buddy, so that person doesn't work alone. There's a buddy assigned to that person, so you can ask questions, and of course we would help the person, because on that day we know, is that ready or what? And that would be my job of putting some pressure. So then, we have kind of 1 month onboarding, where it's basically you need to deliver on everything you promised during the interview. until we would have the new candidates joining and working on different projects with different teams, because then you have an idea of how the company works. First day you work with your buddy, second day the buddy gives you something to do, like it's a little bit more controlled, then you start gaining autonomy and you go. But these worked really well. Even in the beginning with engineers, we had back-end and front-end, and we had back-end people working on front-end and doing HTML, and they were all desperate. But okay, like you need to be able to put a form that follows a template on the website. And that would give them visibility of how things work together, which later on was very important. Questions? No questions. Okay. Scaling. As you scale, one of the tough jobs is to manage internal expectations, because the ones that are there from the beginning, of course, want to be promoted, want to be the head of, want to be the C-level, marketing, whatever, and sometimes they don't have the expertise that's needed. So that's why, for example, for the manager's part, I decided to bring the team to the interviewing process, because otherwise they would not respect the manager. And I still remember, so that round table was with the second manager we hired. The first one, it was like, because it was in a rush, so it was a little bit quicker, the process. And I remember it was Friday evening, we would have beers in the office, okay, beer break. Hey guys, I have good news, we have a manager starting next week. I saw that like good dressed, like good looking guy that came the other day, right? Like we have a manager, we are gonna destroy the company. But if you do the process right and you understand the cultural fit, things go right. That manager was really, really helpful for the organization, and everyone really liked him. So as long as you don't bring someone that's gonna beat everyone, you should be fine. And then another very good idea is not to give all the fancy titles at first. Let's say you hire like a sales guy. Don't make that person VP of sales right away. Sales is tricky because the organization is well defined, but either marketing or biz dev or design, because if you give all the fancy titles, every 6 months, if you are in growing at a high pace, every 6 months, you'll need to bring more expertise. If you give the C-level, then you have no place to put the new person. And you don't want to demote the person that's already there. And then, like, bad things will happen. So if you start, okay, I made someone manager, then I have like a director level. I can still put a director. Then I can put a senior director. Then I can put a VP. And then can I put a C-level? So if you start with a manager, you have room to grow. If you start from the top, like you're in bed, you are in trouble. And this is very important. And this is something that I think is just a reminder. It's very, very easy to hire when we are desperate, because we need the people, we have pressure from investors, we need to get like better numbers, and we need people to do a certain job. Hiring takes a lot of time and should be founders' first priority, if that's a priority for the company. Creating a hiring team is also important, but I would not do it before the process is in place. So once you know what works for you, then okay, you can get a hiring person and give them the job. Especially because hiring in the Portuguese market is a little bit traditional, and hiring managers, sometimes they don't understand the startup process. So they are going to apply their own rules. And what works is their rules plus your rules. And honestly, if it was not this process, we would not be the company we are today. Firing, it's simple. And most of the times, we know we have to fire someone, but we believe, like, first we mix things. If I like someone personally, it doesn't mean that person has the right job, the person is in the right mode of the organization, and doesn't mean that the person is happy doing or working for you. Like, firing friends is normal, it hurts, it's terrible, but no one's gonna die. If you communicate it properly, nothing bad happens. The problem is that this communication game is challenging for all of us. So, yes, hire fast, but fire faster. Honestly, when I came from the US, we were 3, then we were 6, and then we fired 3 people. And we did it really quick. I don't know what would have happened if we didn't fire those 3 people, honestly. Because we would go slowly, get used to it, then if you don't act right away, it becomes more difficult. So just a reminder, be transparent, give people feedback. Like, there was this guy, it was very tough. So there was this guy, he couldn't work as a team. Like, he couldn't. He was a designer, like, he was a nice guy. But I told him, look, this is not working. Either we can make this work, or like, we have no chance. And he couldn't work our way. So he didn't fit in the team. And everyone within the organization was realized it doesn't work. We like the guy for the beers, but for work, it's just a nightmare. So we had to fire him. Like, we paid him what we had to pay them. I explained it, he knew already, which is another thing. Like, don't fire people like that. Like, you're fired. Make it very clear that things are not working for whatever reason. Give that person a chance to improve. If it doesn't happen, the person can expect that. But treat the people fairly, in a transparent way. Like, I still speak with the guy, no big deal. Like, it doesn't hate me, I know. But this is just one example. The key is to fire really fast, and again, call the lawyers, because they help you. I think this is it. Any questions?
Anybody has any questions?
Just one. When have you started documenting, like, that?
And in the beginning, and I'll tell you why. Because we were, not everyone was in the same York office. So between Portugal and the US, and that saved us.
So you had an excuse to...
Which was very powerful excuse.
Yeah.
It proved very useful.
It's one of those things that you know it's important, but...
One day.
Kinda.
More questions? Everyone like...
Did it already happen to you that you had like 2 great guys fighting for the same position?
Hire them both?
Yeah, that was the case?
Yes, like, because honestly, I think we were slow hiring at the beginning, and like, we never had too many people. It was always like, we don't have enough. I don't remember a case where we had that. It was always, there were positions, okay, you have 2 people. I don't remember any position that was really difficult. If it was engineers, bring them all.
I have one question. You're very money, right?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever been any time in a position when you found the founders wanted you to hire somebody or suggested that they wanted you to put in a person in your team?
Yes, so actually our worst hires ever were recommended by one of our investors. And as soon as you realize they are not fit for the team, what do? You treat them with respect and you fire them. And like, everyone needs to respect that. So that's what we did. Not because we didn't need that position, but because that person was not the fit for that position.
And that was okay with the investors?
Totally. They know the game. They should have known better when they recommended the person.
Any more questions?
It's end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, so Cristina, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone.